Hello and welcome to Health Matters on Channels Television. Thanks for joining us. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. Substance abuse is the harmful use of psychoactive substances, including but not limited to alcohol and illicit drugs. Psychoactive simply means it can alter perception, mood, and cognition. One of the key impacts of illicit drug use on society is the negative health consequences its members experience. Figures from the World Health Organization say at least 15.3 million persons have drug use disorders. The highest prevalence and increase in use is being reported in West and Central Africa, with rates between 5.2% and 13.5%. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, the prevalence of substance use in Nigeria is 15% between the ages of 15 and 64. In Kwara State, according to the same source, 1 out of 6 youths is addicted to substances. My guest is Chief Consultant Epidemiologist, Department of Public Health, Federal Ministry of Health, Abuja. Dr. Jamiu Ganiyu is here in the Lagos studio. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
And Happy New Year.
I say to you.
Well, but this is a very serious matter we're discussing. Drug abuse or substance abuse is on the rise.
Yes.
Why are we seeing a rise?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the question. It's actually drug abuse and drug and substance abuse. There are a lot of factors burden on individual, family, and to the society we have. Usually, based on statistics, you tend to find more of substance abuse among the youths, undergraduates, secondary school students.
These are the future leaders of tomorrow, as we always call them.
Exactly.
So we are wasting our youth. We're wasting our future.
That's why we have to do something. And I'm happy we are actually discussing this matter at this moment. Actually, one of the main reasons is the fact that curiosity and that tendency that the influence of peer among this set of people contribute that let's try something new is actually one of the main reasons. Apart from that, that drive to want to increase performance physically in their daily routine, made in the academic performance or what they do, is identified as one of the major factors.
Who told them that it will increase their intelligence or creativity? Does it increase intelligence?
That's what they are being told, and that is why they are doing that. Then also, these recreational purposes, some use that in sports, some people use it to enhance their performance. It's one of the also major reasons. I know that sports is among the youths. It's also contributing to that. Also, these cultural and traditional norms. You know, in our society, we look at alcohol intake and cigarette smoking as a normal thing. So usually people start with taking it. It doesn't look new to people in our society. Gradually, they graduate from alcohol to another level of stimulant or depressant. So these are some of the things. Then also some religious rites also, indulge in taking some of these drugs.
Religious rites?
Right, in some settings, yes. Maybe taking alcohol, there is a normal norm or another thing. So I think they also contribute to that. And you're also aware that we are battling with insecurity in the country.
Now that is making sense.
So, because of that, for somebody just to pick a gun and shoot an individual is not normal. So some of them are also involved in some of
the influence
of drugs. In terms of among those that are involved in insurgency, terrorism, kidnapping, and so on. Even among the sex workers too, it has been found that they use some of these to enhance their performance. So these are some of and psychologically, some people use it to cope. Somebody have lost a loved one, had one problem or the other, maybe they have a depression, anxiety, and so on. So we decide to say,
okay, before we go any further, if somebody is suffering from extreme grief because of the loss of a loved one or some family tragedy, if they go to a psychiatrist, wouldn't that solve the problem? Wouldn't that be a better outlet?
Yes.
I'm saying this just so people can hear it out there. differently from
actually, that will help a lot. And I forgot to mention, another factor is the fact that limited access to healthcare services. You know, some of these people who don't have opportunity of going to meet a psychiatrist, they may decide to patronize a pharmacy or patent medicine store or a drug hawkers. Through that, they will just give them one form of drugs which are not actually prescribed drugs. In so doing, they may actually graduate into from taking those drugs and eventually becoming addicted to it, which are they start abusing some of these drugs.
So
for
we
instance,
have
like
hawkers
tramadol,
who can actually get you high on drugs.
Yes. Some of these people hide under the influence of selling antibiotics and so on. But underneath, they are selling some of these hard drugs. So these are areas we need to actually shed our light on. Again, you know those people carrying baskets, bags, and so on. Some of them are also vendors. They are good channel for actually spreading some of these drugs to the youth. So we need to look at those also areas. Also, in terms of access, apart from to health, education. So people too are not educated. Now, you because you are educated, that was why you are asking me why. Some don't know about
so
this.
Does it mean that going in, some of these people do not realize, even though they go and buy the drugs themselves, that they can be addicted, that this is habit forming?
Yeah, because some at the beginning, maybe they went there because of maybe pain. So gradually, when they start, maybe they may be suffering from chronic pain. Maybe when maybe eventually when they introduce some of these drugs and they get better, gradually, apart from the effect of resolving the pain, the euphoric aspect of it, feeling high and so on, they may start benefiting from that. And gradually, they become accustomed and become used to some of those drugs. Through that process,
this is Hydra headache.
Yeah.
How do we begin to approach this problem?
Well, in addressing this problem, we'll look at it at individual level, we'll look at it at family level, we'll look at it at the community, we'll look at the government level, and we'll also look at it at the level of the law enforcement agencies. For instance, the family has a very key role to play in this aspect. We need to make our children friends of each other. We need to dialogue with our children. We need to share life stories, encouraging them in case they have one problem or the other. The youth are prone to isolation. They are prone to loneliness. That is why we must bring our children to ourselves as friends so that we continue to give them counseling. Proper education is very, very important. Not that we'll be so autocratic to our children. That may also make us to lose our children to their peers. We'll be eventually, lure them into taking hard drugs. Then at the perspective of the religious bodies, they also have a very key role to play. Our religious body, they need to move the conscience of the followers. Is very important. Let them know about the danger, the consequences. Let them inform their followers about this. It's also very important. In the school, guidance and counseling. Any child that is coming to school need to pass through that process.
Do you think we need to make this like recommended reading in schools? Have a course about addiction, substance use and abuse?
I think it's high time, if it is not in the curriculum, I think it's high time we introduce that so that they can know be educated about the danger of substance abuse. I think it's a very valid recommendation, which I think if it has not been factored, then we need to do that right now. It's very important.
So now, when somebody gets hooked on something, and maybe is taken to a rehab center, I want to know what's kind of experience a person gets in a rehab center.
Really? Do we really have a rehab center in all this?
We heard about rehab centers that are being opened everywhere.
Well, are they registered with government? Only a few ones, like in Lagos.
Government.
Okay, there are some that when you go there, the situation is not really encouraging. You can't have somebody under rehab being locked under cell and so on.
Okay, so what are we talking about? It simply means we're not ready then.
Well, that's it, because some of these so-called rehab centers, I'm made to understand that the NDLA was trying to build some of they've started the process, I don't know. But the one I visited, I don't want to mention, in some say they are not really a rehab center. And one thing I want to I want us to clarify is the fact that not all drug users that have drug use disorders are psychiatric patients. We have to get that. Please, let's try to demarcate rehab home from seeing a psychiatrist.
All
we
right.
are missing it.
Yes, I did want to ask you for that clarification.
We are really missing it.
A rehab center is not the same thing as seeing a psychiatrist.
Exactly.
So how do you make the differentiation? Yeah,
the differentiation is that you can have a psychiatrist in a rehab center, but every drug disorder victim or client is not a psychiatric patient. We have to demarcate that. In a rehab home, they have to, take them through on how they can ward off from that drug. Maybe you need a social worker and so on. You need a psychotherapist. You need psychologists and so on, who may help them gradually and so on. And for instance, in Nigeria now, actually, we have what you call harm reduction program being introduced in the country.
What did you call it?
Harm reduction program.
Harm reduction.
Yes, actually, it's born out of the HIV program. We realize that some of the drug users, especially those that inject drugs, they tend to be exposed to HIV, viral hepatitis. So there was need to a kind of factor that into the HIV/AIDS program. So in that we have a technical working group. We have facilities who take care of these kind of situations. And this facility called them one-stop shops. It is being supported by Global Fund and United States government. So what they do there is that it's like a primary healthcare center, because the proper approach is community-based rehabilitation.
Okay.
It's not the current trend is for us to have a system whereby the family participates in the rehabilitation of those children. But just locking them, isolating them in a cubicle or whatever, unless those ones that are aggressive, that one we can do that. But for those ones that they are a bit calm and whatever, I think the family has a role to play. And that's what we try to do under that.
Do you have any people actually coming by themselves to say, I know I have this problem, I need help, can you help?
Yes, I've met many of them that they know that they have problem and they need help. And the unfortunate thing is that as at that time, it is gradually we're evolving anyway. Under this harm reduction now, we try to, Nigeria is trying to implement what you call medication-assisted therapy, especially those that have opioid dependence, in which we'll be using methadone. Instead of the injectable one, they inject heroin, inject other. So we'll be giving them oral medication as a substitute to the injection, so as to ward them off of injection with the associated risks of HIV.
Okay, it's like using a nicotine patch for somebody who wants to stop smoking.
They will take it orally.
Okay.
When they go there, they take it orally. So we've demarcated some centers in some selected states where such will be implemented. So at the moment, hopefully it will start this year.
Okay.
So that's
Let me see if I'm understanding you.
Yes.
You're giving the person a reduced amount of the drug?
It's not really reduced, an alternative drug.
An alternative drug?
Yeah, instead of taking heroin or maybe taking cocaine or so, they'll give them methadone, a lesser, it's still the same group of drug, but you can take them orally. The importance of that, what we want to achieve is to make sure that they don't inject drugs. You know, injecting drugs is associated with serious HIV, hepatitis, and so on. So
we really have to go on a break. We'll come back and continue that discussion. Please stay with us. We're going on a short break. Back in a few. Welcome back. We're talking about curbing substance abuse. This is Health Matters on Channels Television. You can call 0808-054-2233 if you have questions on the topic or maybe suggestions on the topic. You can also send a message across at CTV_Mary A or send email to moalale@channelstv.com while the conversation continues. I've heard stories of people who go into rehab. They get cleaned up, everything is fine, but then they come out and they get into the drugs again. And then they just keep going like that. What's responsible for that? What is the success rate of, now that you told me what rehab centers look like, I don't even know what I can imagine, but is there a success rate?
Well, I've not availed myself with any study that talk about success rate, but I want to believe that there have been success stories about people who have been warded up of drug after they pass through rehabilitation centers, and those people that, as you said, come in and go in, and some of the factors is that even when somebody is rehabilitated, the key thing is that person must be prevented from having access to that. As long as somebody is within that network, he or she is likely to go back or have availability of getting some of those drugs.
You're visiting the same haunts,
the same friends and so on, or having access to where those drugs are. It's like there's that likelihood. And again,
now, I hear that the drugs are very accessible.
They are very accessible
and cheap.
Yeah, I've told you the different network. Some pharmaceutical companies, some vendors, drug hawkers, there are drug pushers. They have their centers where they have where they can get. It's a network. So that is why. But the only thing I want to say is that we must differentiate between drug users and drug suppliers.
Okay, so the drug users.
Yes.
Sometimes they get them.
Yes.
Do they punish them?
Yes, that is why for us to achieve success regarding this, we need to look at drug users, treat them.
They are victims.
Yeah, no, we don't. We must apply public health approach to this.
And that is
the best way. And that's what we are doing under the harm reduction
program. What's the public health approach?
Our approach is that every drug users are considered as somebody that need help. Like
what if you have a person who is both a user and a supplier?
They will be treated at, we don't spare, drug suppliers are not spared at all. They need to face the wrath of the law. That is what we are proposing under the harm reduction program we are running in Nigeria. We are targeting the suppliers. And that is why a coalition has been built that involve the law enforcement agencies, Human Rights Commission, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Health, and so on. So we've understand the fact that those people that are using drugs need help. And that is why we're developing different programs, rehabilitation programs, and so on, to see that we help them. And we're also advocating that these people should be treated as people that need medical help, attention.
What about border control? Is it that West and Central Africa are travel routes, or what?
It's so obvious that we have porous borders. We have porous borders. Those are some of the issues. You know, these are issues that has to do with human behavior. You cannot change people. We heard of cases of people from farming cannabis in their farmland and so on. You know, these are some of the challenges. And some people can disguise. You know, they will load rice. You'll be seeing a sack of rice, or beyond that, you see drugs. So these are issues. The only thing is that I think I was trying to mention different way we can cope this. Is that we need to strengthen the NDLA. Apart from strengthening them, we need the penalty is too minimal. We need to
What's
look
the penalty like?
Some you see them, they just get 2 years, 3 years. I think it's high time we talk about long time, maybe imprisonment and so on.
After 2 or 3 years, you can go back to the trade.
Yes, I'm saying. So these are areas we need to review our law. And as I've said, drug users should not be prosecuted. It's the supplier that we should be targeting. And I think through that process, we can, resolve a lot of things. And public awareness is very, very, very important. We need to partner with NDLA, our national orientation agencies, the media, the channel, TV, order. We need to also actually spread the message about the danger of substance use disorders and so on. I think through that we can also help in that directions. Then we have NGOs, community that work with the youths. Apart from their major assignment or make empowerment and so on, they need to also help in talking about the dangers of drugs and so on. So I think
one has to also look at how such people will be gainfully employed after they are cleaned up.
I think so.
Some people fell from glory. They had jobs. Yeah. They were gainfully employed. But maybe the drugs have truncated that because it has resulted in a change in behavior, a change in, thinking and perception and all that. They lost their jobs. But how possible is it that such a person can get his job back? So getting them gainful employment is another aspect that probably has to be looked into.
I agree with you, absolutely agree with you. And I think some NGOs are working in that direction, helping them after rehabilitation, helping them to secure, it may not be formal kind of job, maybe a kind of skill acquisition, trying to, link them up, empower them and so on. These are part of even the harm reduction program I mentioned that we are actually advocating for, so that we'll not just leave them after the rehabilitation and they have nothing to fall back on.
Then I was wondering, when products are seized, you saw those bags of cannabis and other things that they manage to get in transit, and they burn them, and destroy them. Is that the best way of getting rid of drugs? Burning, I mean, environmentally and all that.
Like the cannabis, I don't think environmentally.
Because to spread it, burning is the method.
Apart from even by some people can even inhale it and they'll be.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. So maybe that has to be looked into. Then the possible harm to the environment.
I agree. Pollution and so on, I agree. And we are talking about climate change and so on. So I think this is another opportunity for advocacy for the NDLA to know maybe they need to make a review of how they finally dispose some of those seized drugs. I think your point is very valid. I think they need to look into things like that.
What's the connection between drug abuse and mental health?
Good. Drug abuse, one of the complications of drug abuse is that it may result into psychosis. So that is the connection.
Do some of these things become permanent?
Yeah, the long time.
Irreversible.
Yes, it becomes irreversible. Psychosis is one of the major problems. They end up getting there.
Even if they're off the drugs?
Yes. If at the early stage, if they're able to, come out of it, and they may not end that way. But as long as they continue, this is, is affecting the brain. So some of them may end up, having full-blown psychosis, and this
is a serious problem, because even if such a person comes off the addiction, they may not be as gainfully employed as they used to be. If at all they do get a job.
I agree
so it's a major drawback for any society.
I agree with you, and I think that I'm saying, in terms of, you made mention of the rehabilitation center, I don't think we have we need to borrow from the Western world.
Then the staff to even populate such centers.
So we need to really, at least we may start with seasonal standardized rehabilitation center. So maybe gradually we can now cascade it.
At least
in Lagos we have, but I don't want to mention what I'm seeing that in that Ikorodu area. There's one in Majido where I'm not too impressed. I think they can upgrade that, make it look tidy, because I've been there many years. I don't know whether the situation have changed, where you see people being locked up in the cell and so on. So I think we can use this as a form of advocacy for government to look into that and make it look better, so that people coming out from there can serve as an example for other people who may have similar challenge, but because of stigma. Stigma is another problem.
Is another.
I don't want to go there.
Doctor,
so
there's so much to do. So much to talk about, and we could just keep going on and on. But let's call it a wrap for today. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Thank you. We'll call it a wrap. But from what you've heard, I'm sure we all know, don't even try it. Don't even try it. There's so many ramifications to substance abuse. Have a wonderful day. My name is Mary Alale Yusuf.